Damn, that's a sexy fish. What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, and a little summertime update in the fish room. Alright guys, I'm down here in the fish room doing some maintenance. I am glistening and a little sweaty right now. Let's see. According to my handy dandy weather station, it is roughly 89.2 degrees in here right now. Let's see what the thermostat's actually set to. Well, it's set to 85, but it is reading about 88. The dehumidifier is going and kicking off heat in the room. Let's see. We are currently refilling after starting a water change over here on the 40-gallon breeder grow out ram tank. Just fed the discus. The Dantum Angels are still eating, along with some of the black neons. We go around and around and around. And over here, are the black rams. Damn, that's a sexy fish. These are my actual black rams, who just the other day spawned for me again. I've been too busy over the summertime to pull eggs and artificially rear them the way I had been doing. What I had been doing most of this year was pulling ram eggs, artificially rearing them in various different spots. I ended up doing most of that work over here towards the more recent past. And these are some of the larger rams that have been born in my fish room and are since growing out. Finally starting to color up. Some of these guys are starting to put on some nice size. I've actually had at least 2 different pairs that would form in this tank. One of those 2 pairs I moved over here, where they're hanging out with some guppies. They're still rather small, but they did spawn for me once. The eggs didn't turn into anything. Anyway, back to the sexy black rams over here. So these are the 2 super dark blacks that I had left out of that group. They have been spawning for me somewhat regularly. I've gotten eggs a couple of times from them. Each time they get a bigger and bigger spawn. I'm very hopeful that they might figure out how to raise their own babies. Only time will tell. So far, that has not happened. Let's see, then around the corner behind me over here. In this tank, I had the other set of black rams. I believe actually this female might have been what I call darks and not blacks. Last time I showed this tank, the male had that weird pimple on his head, which might be, I don't know, lymphocystis or something like that. I don't know what it was. I dosed some Canaplex. It looked like he got better for a little while, then he got a little worse. He did survive long enough to spawn one more time, but that did not result into any viable fry, and then he has since passed, which is very, very unfortunate. I'm a little upset about that. But this is what happens, especially with these rams. We're doing a water change on this little grow out tank here, which according to my tag has hybrid EBR black rams that were born on April 3rd. We're draining some water right down into my utility tub. I hear that sump pump going because this tank is still running. I hang these dip and pour containers on a tank when I turn the water on, so that way I hopefully remember to turn it off so I don't have any other disasters like they've had in the past. Oh boy. Hang up. Oh. Throwing dip and pours everywhere. Got quite a collection of these things. And like I said, I end up hanging them on any tank where water is currently running. And then I can remember to shut them off. This particular tank overflows out of there, comes down, joins into my multi-drain right into the floor. Hang the dip and pour back up. Let's see. We can stop doing a water change here. I've already poured some dechlorinated tap water from right here, which comes right out of my carbon block filter system back there. So I've already got water ready to go, which will be used to do water changes here, where I've already drained this water. That tank is draining. We'll move our siphon into this tank, and now that's draining down into this and right into that floor drain. So, like I said, unfortunately I lost the male over here. A little upset about that, but there is a learning curve to these rams. Rams in general are sensitive. These black rams are proving to be sensitive. Behind me here are a pair of what we'll call not black rams. This is a pair that Tom, Coral Bandit, sent me. He spawned these from his black rams. He was calling them his black number ones. I think these were born roughly in December. They just spawned for me again after a real long hiatus, but none of the eggs look viable. Oh, I almost forgot that I am also filling water on this tank. See, it's a good thing I hang these different pour containers, because otherwise I would forget to turn off the water. All right, water's off. Different pour away. So, he's guarding some eggs right now, but they look all fungused over already. These guys had spawned, I wouldn't even say regularly. They were spawning on and off for me for a little while after I first got them, and then even into the more recent history. But they hadn't spawned in a while for some reason. Not sure why, so it's nice to see that they did again. This pair over here is another pair of quote-unquote blacks. I'll call these darks. I got these off Aquabid. These guys have been spawning on and off for me. These are the ones that kept spawning right there underneath where the female is currently sitting on the corner of the tank there. But instead of using the saucer there or there, actually the last time they spawned they did use this saucer, but for some reason they like using the tank bottom. But the real nice dark blacks, the sexy blacks, like I said, they keep spawning. Every time looks a little bit better. However, where is he? I've noticed on the male the same kind of white pimply thing that was on that other black ram in the other tank behind me. You can just sort of make it out next to his eye there. So I am not happy about that. I got a couple of other females. Here's a lonely female ram. She was in this tank breeding with a male for a little while, but I lost the male. This is actually a good looking female. I gotta hopefully raise up one of my own males that I can add in with her. This is my Mr. Aqua 12-gallon long tank. There used to be some Ember Tetras in here. There's still a few, but not nearly as many as there had been. Then up here I got another lonely female. She was never really part of a breeding pair. She's kind of a dull, drab looking German ram for some reason. Maybe she's waiting to find the right man. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, my Epistogramma are out. These are the Epistogramma agazizi. They're a wild form. They were labeled as Nets Alenker. And I've only got 2 of these males left. I've been trying to speak to the breeder who I got these from to see if there's any chance he has some females. Last I heard a couple of months ago, he said he did have a couple of females. It'd be nice to add them into the batch here. These guys are very, very shy. They've been very slow growers. I've had them for over a year. I feel like they've finally just reached their full mature size and color. They definitely are showing some aggression. I had 4 males and I've lost 2 over the past 5 or 6 months, I feel like. Oh. I can't even keep up with them right now. They are asserting their dominance over one another, that's for sure. What else we got? The electric blue car is up here in the very difficult to film tank. I've got them up here with some Odessa barbs, and there's also some skunk loaches. I call this my semi-aggressive tank. There's always a lot of activity in here. I'm not sure if I have 3 male Acaras. I thought this one here, being the small one, could be a female, but I've never even seen any attempt at breeding. And they're relatively docile. They don't seem to mind the overactive barbs and loaches in the tank with them. The angels are looking good. There's a couple of albino bristlenose plecos in here as well. I don't see them right now. This was the tank that I had the other black rams that Mike from Michael's Fish Room picked up for me. However, they have all unfortunately passed since I got them. Planet 55 gallon. Oh, you can see a couple of my darker plecos. These were sold to me as black plecos. I never see them after moving them into this tank. Where'd he go? I lost this one already too. There's 3 plecos in there in theory, along with my remaining big boy angels. I unfortunately lost that really nice big black one. These are a group I got really small a long time ago. The discus look like they're doing good up here in this tank. It's very hard to film up here in this tank. I've still got some footage of when I moved them up here and sort of escaped this tank. I added in all the cory cats from around the fish room into here. Got another male German ram, and there's a black female ram in here somewhere too, but she disappears into the mess of Java moss and just various algae and overgrowth. But it works well. Got some particulate in the water right now. I don't do much in the way of filtering other than sponge filters in almost every tank. A couple of tanks run some power filters, but there's a sponge filter covered, riddled in algae. It does its job to house beneficial bacteria and all the biological filtration, but it doesn't necessarily remove the big particulate from the water, and I'm okay with that. I think all these Pelvicochromis tenatus malawi have unfortunately met their demise. Somehow, there is still one. See in there? Somehow he jumped from this tank with a cover into this tank with a cover. And you see where the opening is? They're as far away as possible. The opening over here is all the way on the left side of this tank, and the opening over here is all the way on the right side of this tank. I was baffled when I found this crib in this tank. So there is still at least that one alive. I don't think there's anything left in this tank. I might have tried putting them all into too small of a tank. I run an undergravel filter in this tank. I do also have a sponge filter back there that was a seeded filter from a different tank, so it wasn't relying solely on the undergravel. I'm sure the undergravel would have been more than adequate for them had it been seeded beforehand, but that sponge filter should have been adequate enough too. But I had 5 or 6 of those cribs in this 10-gallon tank for maybe just a little bit too long. Maybe the aggression got the best of them. I'm not too sure. And what else? Let's see. The water is filled over here in this tank where the water is still running, where we started a water change, which means we're probably overflowing down here into my sump setup. Can't really see what's going on down there, but that's one of let's think, 1, 2, 3 different sumps that I run, plus a sump pump. There's one. There's one. These are not your traditional sumps in the sense that I don't use them as a filter and return water to the tank, but water overflows out of the tank into the sump and then gets pumped out of my fish room. So we will turn off the water here. If I can do it one-handed. There we go. And let's think. I gotta finish up water changes over here. Let's see, this container is drained. We can move the siphon over to the last one. Now that one will drain. This is where I'm growing out some of the other young rams. These are pretty much juveniles now. They're bigger than fry. These were all born in like April. Up here are some blacks that were born in March that aren't turning out to be super dark. And with any luck, I'll keep having some luck with these rams, more specifically with hopefully with the black rams, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to have some fish for sale. But for now, I gotta get back to work so that way I can finish these water changes and keep my fish happy and healthy. All right guys, let me know what you think and I'll see you guys in the next video.